Huh?
We got live.
I'm on?
Yeah.
Oh, was I on that whole time?
Yeah.
All right, sorry guys, I didn't realise I was on. I should pull up the live feed. Welcome to Unity V. Today it is just me today. Yanni's got some stuff that he needs to take care of. So you've got me for the next 20 minutes or so. And I'm talking about training goals. Today we've got a really good question come through. It's about training goals and what you do when you've got a limited amount of time to achieve some big goals. All that and more coming right up.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
All right, cool. Sorry about the technical difficulties there. So welcome to the show. If we haven't met before, my name's Rad Burmeister. I am one of the co-owners of Unity Gym and co-creators of the Foundation Movement System. We're the gym that teaches you how to nourish and move instead of how to diet and exercise. And we're really trying to shake up the fitness industry like that, because we believe that the fitness industry is putting out a terrible message, which is all about the way you look, whereas we're all about the way you perform and feel. So, welcome to the show. It's just me today. Normally we've got my brother Yanni, but he's got some stuff on that he needs to take care of. So, I am going to jump straight into this. Now, if you don't know, we have a private Facebook support group for all of our online and gym members called the Movement Mastermind, and we have a lot of great questions that come through. And today I am answering Kurt Williams' question. Kurt, you've opened a can of worms here with your question, bro. It's gone very deep, and we've had our moderators come in and give you some great feedback, but I thought that this was a really good one to talk about. So Kurt has started off by saying, hey Rad, huge fan of the program so far, but unfortunately I have too much going on to commit to 90 minutes in the gym 6 days a week. I also have football and running I like to do as well. What would you recommend if I only have 3 days of strength training? I want to do 2 days mobility only and the other 2 days running footy. Cheers, Kurt. And then there's been a whole bunch of responses and questions going back and forth to get down to Kurt's goals. Yanni asked what's Kurt's goals. He said, I want to nail a handstand and handstand push-ups, muscle up, pistol squat and back bend. My mobility has held me back for a while, so I probably should focus on that, and my upper thoracic, spinal and hip mobility need some work. And I've responded by saying that, Kurt, those are some very ambitious goals for somebody that only wants to train 3 days of strength training a week and do mobility 2 days a week. And I'm going to go as far as saying I don't think you're going to achieve those goals with that level of commitment to your strength training and mobility, which I already spoke about in this feed. And then Kurt's gone through to add a couple of other things. He said, you know, should I work my week like this? What if I can do 4 days of strength training? How would that work? So what he's basically said is, can I do handstands for, let me have a look. He said, if I did 10 minutes of handstands daily and 2 days of bent arm strength and 1 day of straight arm strength and 1 leg day, would that be enough? Would I do, and also would I do the squat and hamstring day or the deadlift day? So that is definitely going to look a little bit better. So in our experience, doing handstands less than 5 days a week is not really enough to achieve a good result. Not for us anyway, not for people that were learning how to do handstands as adults, and not for any of our hundreds of members at the gym. Maybe you've experienced it differently. Maybe you learned how to do handstands when you were a kid or a teenager or even in your 20s. But in my experience as an adult, it takes a lot more than that. So yeah, 10 minutes a day, I would say that would not include your warm-up. You would still need to do some warm-up for handstand training. And if you've got 10 minutes, man, you are going to have to be going for it, because you're going to need to get some front and back body line done. 6 minutes of that's going to take 6 minutes, which means you'd have 4 minutes to do a few face-to-wall handstands. And if you did that 5 days a week, and you also do the wrist preparation work, which again, that's going to be extra work, which you'd need to do at least 2 days a week. That probably takes about 10 minutes to develop the strength in your wrist to be able to do handstands. If you do that, then yes, I do believe that after a certain period of time that you will be able to do handstands. And when I say a certain period of time, I'm in my experience, I'm probably talking about a couple of years it would take you to be able to do a handstand with that amount of commitment, but I think you will get there eventually. This is if you don't have any major issues going on in your body. But you've also indicated that you need thoracic mobility, which makes me think that you do have some issues that are going to prevent you from getting that handstand. So that's another beast that we'll talk about in a sec. As far as the handstand push-ups and the muscle-ups, you can definitely get those by doing 2 bent arm strength days a week. So those are both bent arm strength movements, and if you work on that, it's going to take time. Of course, there's the whole, there's the progressions that you'll have to follow to get there. How long? It completely depends on the individual. Some people come into Unity Gym and within a month they're doing a muscle up. Some people after 6 months are still not doing pull-ups. So it just completely depends on who you are as a person. And handstand push-up, similar thing. It's it just depends on how strong you are as to how quickly you're going to nail that movement. And what's the next ones that you said here? Let me just remind myself. Oh yeah, the pistol squat. Look, in our experience, there's a reason why we do a 6-day-a-week program. In my personal experience, and Yanni and Richard's as well, and that doesn't mean just with our own training, that means with our clients as well. If you don't train a strength movement twice a week, it will not improve at a fast enough pace. We tried for a long time doing things once a week and doing more volume on the one day, like doing the I guess maybe for us more of an old school approach, which is on that one day of the week that we did that we did vertical push pull, like a shoulder press and a pull up, or a pull up and a handstand push up, or whatever it is. We really went for it and had very high intensity, went to absolute failure, completely exhausted ourselves, where we had DOMs for the next 3 or 4 days in that muscle group. And it didn't produce great results. We're getting much better results from doing the same thing twice a week, but training at only about 80, maybe 90% max effort. And that's why we do the program the way we do it. It's very simplified, where we do bent arm strength on Monday and Thursday, lower body on Tuesday and Friday, and then straight arm strength on Wednesday and Saturday. And that's producing far better results for us than, just killing ourselves in the gym, 1 day a week on each of those movements. So that said, look, I've had decent results from doing leg training 1 day a week. And I do believe that you can do that. To get a pistol squat, it's hard to say, man. In all honesty, I think it's going to be hard for you to do with only 1 day a week, to get a pistol squat in a reasonable amount of time. And what I would say with all of this, I want to kind of round all of this together. There's a saying that Yanni loves. He says it all the time. You can't ride 2 horses with one ass. So you do need to prioritize. You need to find a way to say, this is what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to choose these goals, and I'm going to, put my effort into those. And I've really struggled with that in my time since I transitioned to being a movement generalist maybe 4 years ago or so. It was very hard for me to prioritize. There was so much new stuff because I came from a background of being a martial artist where I was very tunnel visioned and I rejected a whole lot of stuff and only focused on the things that would progress my martial arts training. And then when I became a movement generalist and I started to look into calisthenics and gymnastic strength and adopt more weightlifting, and there was just so many things that I wanted to do. And I focused on, I'm going to rephrase that. I didn't focus on anything. I worked on so many different things, but I wasn't focusing on anything. And recently, and only very recently, we've modified the foundation movement system to be much more focused, to really prioritize strength and flexibility at the baseline level, just strength and flexibility in the most in one way, the most common calisthenics goals that people have, things like a handstand push-up, planche, front lever, muscle up, one-arm pull-up, things like that, but also in a way where we approach it from our strength and conditioning background, which is that everything is balanced. So for if we do a pushing movement, a horizontal pushing movement, we also do a horizontal pulling movement. So an example of that in calisthenics would be, pull-up is paired with a handstand push-up. They're completely opposing movements. One of them does vertical pull and the other one does vertical push. And then another example would be tuck planche or planche progressions paired with tuck lever or front lever progressions. One of them is a pushing movement where the shoulders are trying to move into flexion whilst the scapula is protracting. That's the planche. And the other one, the lever, the shoulders are trying to move into an extended position whilst the scapula is retracting and depressing. So they're completely opposing movements as far as the shoulder joint is concerned. So we've created the whole program to be balanced in that way, but to really just prioritize strength and flexibility. Because at the earliest stage of your movement journey, like I love doing locomotion and flow, and if you don't know what that stuff is, you can check out my Instagram page at Rad Burmeister, or you can look at some of the, my teacher, Ido Portal, and I love doing that stuff. I love complex movement, and I love where movement can take you, and the possibilities are just endless. But again, what we've learned is that the most important things to prioritize at the start of your journey are strength and flexibility. And if you take the word priority by its literal definition, it means prior to. So it means you do this prior to everything else. Priority has been, or prioritizing has been bastardized in modern time by turning it into a plural. You cannot pluralize priority. You cannot turn it into priorities. These are my priorities. It is a complete misunderstanding of the word. So you prioritize what it is that you want to achieve first. Now, when it comes to strength training, to movement, you can prioritize multiple things because you can prioritize something for your bent arm strength. You can prioritize something for straight arm strength, for mobility. But going back to you, Kurt, if you've got limited days to train, you need to prioritize the things that you want the most. And what I would do is, if I was you, I would have one lower body goal. I would have one pushing and one pulling upper body goal for bent arm strength. I wouldn't even... look, straight arm strength, do it for the symmetry in your body because it is very important, and it's very important for handstands. But I wouldn't even have straight arm strength goals because most of your goals are in bent arm strength. And then I would definitely have your mobility goals, but I would not be looking at mobility as something that you say, I'm only going to do it on 2 days a week, where I do strength training 3 days, mobility 2 days, and then footy and running 2 days. Definitely footy and running 2 days a week, no problem. Strength training 4 days a week, there's your 6 days a week of training. Mobility every day, and handstands every day. How do you do that? You need to find the time. For your footy and your running, you just do some mobility after your session. Stretching after the session. Mobility you'll do before the session. You always do that as a warm-up, and you can just do... mobility basically means just taking your joints through their full range of motion. So you can do the squat routine before your footy, a little bit of 360 hip mobility, a little bit of spinal mobility, and then just loosen up the shoulders, shoulder circles like what you do in the FMS warm-up. And then you can do the stretching routine at the end of training. So do the 18-minute stretching routine if you're limited with time, or the loaded mobility routine if you don't have access to that. Everyone's got access to the loaded mobility in the FMS program, so you can just put that together as a mobility session. And then on your strength training sessions, a 90-minute session, if you're really sticking to the clock, you can definitely do mobility between your sets of strength training. That's the way that we recommend that people do it. And you just got to prioritize those movements that you need work on. So when you're doing your bent arm sessions, do for the primary lifts for you, I would do hip mobility when you're doing your primary strength training lifts, and then when you move into your supplementary lifts, you can go into shoulder mobility as well. And I would probably do that 4 days a week. I would do hip and shoulder mobility rather than the way that we normally say it, because you need thoracic mobility and shoulder mobility, as you've said. And beyond that, man, the whole thing is a practice. Sorry, I was just reading Richard's comment on the video. It's all about practicing, man. It's about testing and adjusting. This movement journey that you're on, it is not a destination, and it never will be. It constantly evolves. We're constantly trying to figure out better ways to mold our program. And I do that to myself all the time. I'm the creator of the Foundation Movement System with my brother Yanni and business partner Richard. And I'm constantly changing the way that I'm programming. Every single cycle that I do of my program, I'm already thinking about how can I make the next cycle better and more efficient. And then I go through this process where I'm always building and building and building, and then I get to a point where I get to hit it with the simple stick, where I go, okay, how have I made this too complex? How have I moved away? What are my core goals again? What am I really here for? That I want to be able to, develop as best as I can. And then I have to just reject certain things. There's certain things that I really, really want to do and I really want to be working on, but they're not my primary goals. So I have to prioritize, because I've gone down that path where I included a little bit of everything and it just wasn't giving me the results that I wanted. And if you do that for long enough, you look back on, and I've done this, I've looked back on a year of my training. I do this every single year. Every year I reflect on my training, and I've gotten to the end of some years and been very, very unhappy about what I've achieved, and that is really unsatisfying. It's a really sad feeling to get to the end of a year and just think, fuck man, I did not achieve the goals that I set myself out for at the start of this year. So I hope that helps, Kurt. If you've got any more questions, this is, of course, this is what we're here for. But more importantly, I hope that it helps some other people in the Movement Mastermind, and those of you that aren't even in the Movement Mastermind, that are just watching our content. It's a really important thing for you guys to do, to always, reflect on your training. And it's good to reflect on every cycle, reflect on 6 weeks and have a look and see, did this mesocycle produce the results that I want? That's what deload week is for. And what am I going to change in the next mesocycle to make sure that I keep moving forward? And if your goals are not matched by your effort, then you're going to be disappointed. So a recap, in my opinion, okay, please don't ask me to produce any research on this or anything. This is what I've learned from training with amazing coaches around the world, reading more books than I could poke a stick at, and through all my own experience with my own training and with our clients here. So in my opinion, you need to do 2 days a week on any movement to make serious progress with it. For the way that we train, okay, maybe it's different for a power lifter, maybe it's different for a straight up gymnast, maybe it's different for a weightlifter, but for the way that we train, 2 days a week on any movement to make significant progress with it. Handstands, 4 to 5 days a week minimum. I like to do them 6 days a week. Mobility between sets of strength training, and make sure that you're prioritizing what it is that you want to do, which means you do that stuff first, and then if you've got time, you do the other stuff. So yeah, really hope this helps, guys. Any questions, you can hit us up in the comments of this video. Of course, we always answer the questions from the people in our tribe, the Movement Mastermind, first on these shows, and if we get around with it we'll answer our YouTube questions. And besides that, I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully Yanni will be back. And have a great day of training, guys. It's Monday in Australia, so I know that a lot of you guys around the world that have just got into the FMS online coaching, you're going to be doing your first week this week. So it's Sunday for you guys. While you watch this, you're going to be getting ready for your first Monday workout. Just make sure that you've watch the first 3 introductory videos, the Welcome to the FMS program, the introduction or the instructions on how to use the program template, the printable program template, and then also the mobility routine, the warm-up, so you know how to do the warm-up. And then just watch Monday's workout. Really learn it, understand it, look at the program while you watch it so you understand it. So when you come into the gym, you know what you're doing and you're ready to go. And if you're not a part of the program, if you haven't joined the FMS online coaching program, you can do so with a 30-day money-back guarantee. No questions asked. If you do not like what we give you in the first 30 days, we will give you your money back and cancel your subscription. And then ongoing from that, you can cancel at any time. So it really is an unbelievable way of doing strength training for $49 a month, strength and mobility with us online. And we also have a really limited time offer where you can get a discount, a lifetime discount, if you click the link in this video description. So I hope to see some more of you guys in our online tribe. And besides that, I will see you tomorrow at the same time for some more answering questions. See you tomorrow.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.